what major things are there?
She was showing us a video about massive mountain of garbage in Delhi. Unfortunately, we're living in a time where we're seeing climate change happening at a very rapid pace. The glaciers in the Himalayas, they're melting. We're seeing the pollution levels in our city rising. So living in Mumbai itself reduces your lifespan by around 3 years.
Your grandfather was criticized a lot while opening this massive DY Patil Institute. Now, how your grandfather has tackled this criticism? Hello guys and welcome to Positive Talks, and today we have the young and dynamic mind who is really working hard in education part and environmental part. But the main thing is she is the granddaughter of education samrat Padmashree Dr DY Patil, and she is Rajlakshmi Patil. We had a lot of conversation about the past, the present and the future of DY Patil and how they are contributing in the nation's growth and the progress. So बहुत मजा आने वाला है इस conversation में. So keep watching this conversation till the end. The sponsor to this video is Sukoon Design Studio. Sukoon Design Studio is an interior designing firm to transform your home to a place of sukoon and comfort. With their beautiful design and excellent execution, they bring your dream space to life, ensuring that every corner is filled with sukoon and happiness. And if you're looking to transform your home, then check the details in the description and fill in the information to get the free first-time consultation. And now, let's begin the positive talk. So, hi Rajlakshmi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on Positive Talks. It's been a great thing that you have come on the show. बहुत सारी बातें मुझे करनी है, बहुत सारा चीज़ें आपके बारे में जानना है. But being a granddaughter of Dr. DY Patil, how it feels?
Honestly, while growing up, we didn't realize the importance or the sort of legacy that we all come from. And I'm speaking for myself, my siblings. And I think just having the last name Patil and being the granddaughter of Padmashree Dr. DY Patil, I think it's a huge legacy. It's a huge matter of pride. And it's also humbling at the same time. I think I'm very proud to be his granddaughter, and it's a legacy that I wish to carry forward. And there's just so much I can speak about him. And honestly, coming from such a, from that sort of legacy, I think it comes with a lot of responsibility as well. But yeah, I would say it's very humbling and also a matter of great pride.
Great. So he's been known as Education Samrat. So yes, we will talk about Padmashree Dr. DY Patil sir as well. But we would love to know about Rajlakshmi, that what right now you're doing and what exactly is going on in your life and what is the goal you have set for the future.
So I'm just finishing my master's from the London School of Economics. So right now I'm pursuing an MSc in Urbanization and Development. So actually, in fact, I just came back from London and I am done with most of my classes. I just have a couple of exams left in June. And after this, I wish to join my family business and contribute in the fields of education, healthcare, and sports. But my background actually, so I did my undergraduation from UCL, and where I did my BSc in geography. So environment and sustainability is something that I've always been passionate about, be it in my academic pursuits or, the NGO that I've started. But yeah, this has been my academic journey so far. At the same time, as I mentioned, I started the DY Patil Climate Action Lab, where we take on various sustainability and environmental initiatives across Maharashtra and India. Also, I'm a very avid reader. I write poems, love skiing, playing the piano. So these are just some of my hobbies.
As we connected on social media, and I saw a wonderful work you've been doing for environment stuff. So what environmental things you feel right now India is lacking a lot, and as every citizen of India should be focusing on? So what major things are there?
So I'll tell you a little bit about why I got this motivation, why I feel so deeply about the environment. So while I was finishing my schooling in Switzerland, I remember in one of my classes actually, it was my environmental science class.
Okay.
And one of my teachers, she was showing us this video. We were learning about pollution at that time. And she was showing us a video about this massive mountain of garbage in Delhi. And that was used as a case study to basically talk about pollution and about, various environmental issues. And being the only Indian in that class, I think that really hurt me deep down. It made me feel, what are we doing as a country? And also, this is how people across the world are seeing India. Right. And I truly believe that our country is so much more than just a mountain of garbage. What I was seeing in my class, I mean, obviously, it is the reality today. Yes, we are facing different environmental issues as a nation, but we're so much more than that, right? And I think that class sort of completely, changed me, and it was like an eye-opener and made me realize that if it's not the youth, if it's not people like me, if it's not you who are stepping up and taking initiatives and trying to solve these environmental issues that we're facing and changing the idea of India, then who will, And that's sort of what drove me in starting the DY Patil Climate Action Lab. Talking about environmental problems that our country is facing, I think the list is just endless. I can just keep talking to you about that. But I think one of the main issues that we're facing right now is, it's quite, it's common sense, right? We see greenhouse gas emissions, we see carbon emissions. I think that's the number one problem that our country is facing. And I think we really need to step up as a country in tackling that. We need to decarbonize our industries. We need to decarbonize our transportation, shift to renewable energy. These are... that particular incident, it's still etched in my head, and I keep thinking about it. And I really want to change the conception, the perspective of India of just, merely being a polluted country or, having all these environmental problems.
So that's what I also got connected with you for environmental stuff you've been doing in DY Patil. So what the major problem, what I feel as in... the problem in India is right now the basic hygiene issues, I would say, the civic problems, or the sense, I would say, that people, industries and stuff, so definitely we need to work on. But I think the habits of every person, like throwing your garbage outside the car and all that stuff, spitting and all stuff, is a very basic common sense.
Exactly.
But still, somewhere Indians are lacking on that. So what we as you been working in as an influencer, what we people can do to change this mindset? So
as you mentioned, it all starts from the mind, right? It's the mindset that needs to change.
Yes.
You can force someone to pick up a piece of garbage on the floor, but will that ensure that they keep doing it? It needs to be a conscious effort. You need to keep repeatedly doing that. So many times I've gone to clean the different beaches, to clean Meethi River, and I see that once we do the cleanup, it doesn't the next day you'll see even more garbage out there, right? So you need to change the mindset at the grassroots level, and that I believe can be achieved obviously through education, right? You need to educate people about the importance of cleaning the environment. You need to tell them how it's a public health issue, because everyone likes to see there needs to be self-benefit out of it. So if picking up a piece of garbage or litter is benefiting you, you need to educate the masses about that, about how pollution is a public health issue, and that sort of intrinsic motivation is what is going to bring forth that change and help change that mindset. Of course, you need better law enforcement and implementation also. So you need stricter laws, and you need to penalize the ones who are not following the laws. I do believe that our country has the laws in place, but people need to follow the laws as well, right? You can have XYZ number of laws, but that doesn't mean that people are going to follow it. You need better law enforcement agents. You need, again, it raises the debate about whether people should be punished. So the whole debate about punishment versus incentivizing people. So I personally believe that changing the mindset individually, like individuals need to realize that, oh, what I'm doing is bad for the environment.
Yeah.
Yes, forcing people does help in some way, because we've reached the point where, changing the mindset, obviously it's a very long-term solution. But it's something that needs to be started now.
Because this changing someone's mindset is something a very long journey, I would say. But right now, if people don't realize it, so the future generation is in a very big danger, I would say.
Right now, we're just thinking of quick fixes, right? We just want to put a band-aid over the wound.
Yeah.
But we also need to think of the long-term solutions. And I feel like a lot of the times now, at least with my generation, and my dad also keeps telling me this, in fact, that we're only thinking about the instant results, the instant gratification that we're getting. But we also need to think about the future and the long-term, the long-term thinking and the long-term solutions. So in that regard, I think education is key in addressing all these problems. And we need to educate our masses about hygiene, about cleanliness. And you need to understand that this is a public health issue, right?
Yeah.
It's going to affect you in the end. So you're not doing anyone else a favor but yourself.
So now you have mentioned this education part.
Yeah.
So DY Patil Institution and Hub, it's known for education. And Padmashree Dr DY Patil, I would really want to understand DY Patil sir, what his vision was to create such a massive institute, and what was that thought behind it? Because what research I have done, he has started from nothing. He had, I think, no backup or nothing he had. But he had such a big vision. Today, so many children and students are studying in this institute. So what that thought was behind starting all this thing?
Actually, he started off as a farmer. So whenever I speak to him and I ask him, like, Dada, what do you want to be, remembered as, or like, what do you think is your biggest contribution to society? He'll always say that I'm a farmer first, and then an educationist or governor or whatever else he's accomplished or been. And I think somewhere his grassroots and his upbringing sort of changed his outlook on life. So, he was a politician. He was an MLA from Panhala. He was also governor thrice of Tripura, Bihar, and then West Bengal. But then he also realized in his journey that education, the power of education to transform lives of people. And I truly believe that education, healthcare, and sports are the three pillars of any strong nation. And his idea at the time was to impart education from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So he believed that the power of education could transform India, could transform individuals. And we're seeing how education is shaping people today, right? And the DY Patil University, the first college that he started, it was one of the first private education initiatives during that time. And during that time, he received a lot of criticism because it was one of the first private educational initiatives. And there weren't a lot of private institutes at that time. So his vision was to provide world-class facility, world-class teaching, to obviously educate the masses. And that's where his vision sort of came from, the idea that the power, the strength of any nation lies in, comes from educating the people in the country, right? And he himself is a very well-educated man. So he's done his BA, he's done his master's. And I think that was also very instrumental in sort of shaping his journey. And I think even it has passed down generations, because my dad keeps telling me that before you do anything, before you start working, you need to first finish your education. You need to finish a higher education. He was the one who insisted me in completing my master's. So I'm just finishing my master's from the LSC. And I also wish to complete my PhD at some point. So education has been something that's been very important in our family. and he wants to sort of instill the same passion for education. He wanted to do it at that time, and that's what now we're trying to do as a family. So the vision sort of started from there.
So his vision is to educate India from Kashmir to Kanyakumari.
Right.
So what Rajlakshmi Patil is thinking of to take this legacy, how you want to take this in? Because I think DY Patil is complete. I think it is in Maharashtra sort of, but I think there is a big space in India. So what you are thinking of, how you are taking this education legacy ahead?
There are many ways in which I wish to contribute to, taking the legacy forward. As I mentioned, I've done most of my education abroad. And a lot of times I get asked this question that why didn't you study in your own university here in India? Or why did you go abroad to study? And I think that was one of the best decisions that I made. A, because the course that I wanted to study was not offered here at the time. That was mainly the reason. But B, also I got to learn so much about the global education system and how universities abroad, they function, right? So I want to, my vision, at least with the DY Patil University, is to bring world-class teaching faculty, right? So just by increasing the number of schools or universities in a country, that does not mean that you're improving education. You need to make sure that you're improving the learning outcomes. So having good faculty is very important, because all my teachers I noticed while I was studying at the LSC, they had such strong academic backgrounds. They all had PhDs from Cambridge, Oxford. And I think that really, really makes a difference, because in the end, it's like if you have great faculty, you also have better student faculty engagement, and learning outcomes automatically improve. So A is obviously bringing in world-class faculty, also teaching existing faculty, giving them the right skills. And then obviously expansion is another thing. I want to help my dad, expand as my dada's vision was to give education, impart education from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So I want to help him expand and reach out in different rural, urban areas across India. And I think one more thing that our educational system and most institutions in India at least lack is, critical thinking and the creative studies side of it. So most of the programs that are offered in colleges here, they're based sort of like technology programs like engineering, medicine.
Very practical kind.
We don't focus on the arts and humanities. So that is one thing that I really want to bring forth. Actually, it was, I did my BSc, as I mentioned, in geography. And that was not something that was offered at the time. And recently, we just introduced a BSc in environmental studies at our university. So also having more sustainability related courses and integrating sustainability into our existing curriculum. I think that's something that I really want to bring forth, given my background in environmental studies and sustainability. Also, we need to start integrating sustainability into our existing programs. So we need to understand that it's not just merely an outside concept, but it needs to be integrated into existing curricula, right? So restructuring the whole curriculum is something that's very important. And I think one more thing that I see is that a lot of the youth and students nowadays, they lack passion and the intrinsic motivation. So often realize that when you force someone to study, the learning outcome is not as much as something that's purely coming out of passion. No one forced me to study geography. But because I was so interested in the subject, I started attending my classes. I started enrolling myself in more optional courses. I started attending university more. So that sort of came from within. So you can't force a student to... so I think restructuring of the whole... not the whole system, but certain aspects is very important, and that's something I want to bring at least in our university.
Great. Well, that's why you have brought out very well कि forcing something on someone can
Right.
never bring a good outcome.
100%.
So
I'll tell you a story. I'll
Okay.
give you an example. Like my mom,
Yeah.
she used to force us to do Kathak classes.
Okay.
And I used to hate. I mean, I was not a good dancer, so I would not enjoy it as much. I would
Okay.
keep running away, and I did not really like learn anything just because I didn't like dancing.
Of course.
So that brings me to my point that if you force someone to do something, it's going to work counterproductive, right? It's sort of like reverse psychology. So if you give students more leeway, you give them more freedom, I think that is going to motivate them more to start studying, to start participating more. And I think that's what I saw with myself as well. When I was given the liberty and the freedom to choose the courses I wanted, I started picking courses that I liked. And because there was no one forcing me, I did it out of interest, right? So it was, I think there needs to be more intrinsic motivation than like this sort of compulsion that we're trying to build in our institutes.
Basically, this is what is seen in India a lot.
Yeah.
Compulsion part or force-fitting things.
Yeah.
That is something killing art. I would say, see, I am a civil engineer, but I am more towards this creative work. So I feel creativity, more engineers and doctors see, it's not a bad field, I would say. That's a very important field. I think, as you said, now living free, but that free mindset is also somewhere taking kids to a wrong direction. I feel so.
Okay.
So in building from our childhood education, that introducing children with not theory but more practical things, more telling them to do it from their own hands. For just an example I would give you is, if we tell every child to plant a tree, so that thing will give more attraction to kids to do that, rather than just giving a theoretical knowledge in books that ye lagao to aisa hoga, wo lagao to aisa hoga. At a certain point, you will forget that.
Yeah, 100%. I think you need more application-based learning more than, I think we focus more on rote learning. That really needs to change. We need to shift more towards critical thinking. And that's what I've seen with most colleges abroad. They focus more on application-based learning, skills-based learning. And I think another problem that students are facing today is employment, right?
Yeah.
Because we're so focused on teaching students memorization, rote learning. We're not teaching them what the industry needs. We need to start teaching them skills that the industry requires. We need to start teaching them more application-based learning where they can apply it to different industries. So I think that is very important, and that is something that our education system lacks majorly. So it needs a whole restructuring of curricula. It needs more in-depth research. It needs more involvement of stakeholders. So we need to involve all these industry heads. We need to involve, different people from different industries, backgrounds, get them involved in forming curricula, in changing the system.
What difference, as you have studied in abroad and you've been seeing the education system in India, what major problem you see while studying over there, and what difference you see in the education part in India?
I think the difference is, so to begin with, as I mentioned, I think the method of learning is very different. I've seen with at least the UK colleges is that the teacher is not as involved in the student's life as compared to India's. I think most of my learning there, so we have lectures, we have seminars. In lectures, the lecturer just comes, gives a lecture and leaves. There's no engagement as such. And then in our seminars, we have more class discussions. We discuss articles, etc. And I think this is a great way of learning, because I think, as I mentioned, if I feel like if the teacher is too involved in the student's life, it's sort of, again, I think it removes that intrinsic sort of motivation. And that's one difference that I've noticed, is that teachers, they give you more freedom to do it by yourself. But that does not mean that they're not helpful, right? You can always go to them if you need any sort of help. But that also makes you self-independent. And another thing is that most of the students abroad, at least, or at least the ones I've seen, they study the subjects that they're passionate about. So as I mentioned, I studied geography because I was passionate about it. So there were more higher attendance rates. There were So attendance wasn't compulsory. Obviously, you have a certain percentage of attendance to, mark, but that was purely for visa purposes, because if you're not attending classes, they might deport you because you need it for the visa, not because it's a college requirement.
The major thing you would have experience over there is that people were more interested to come from their end.
Exactly. So it was more, the students wanted to come and attend college. The teachers weren't forcing the students to attend classes. And another thing I noticed was there's a lot of research-based learning in colleges abroad. So they focus a lot on research. They focus a lot on writing academic papers. Now I have my thesis to write, which is due in July. And it's an ongoing research that I've been doing since the start of the year. And I think that's something that we fundamentally lack. We do not focus a lot on research-based learning. We do not focus on reading. I think reading is something that's huge. So every week we get at least 6-7 articles to read on a daily basis. And we discuss them in our seminars. And I think that's something reading is not as, it's not given as much importance here. And I'm quite surprised because I feel like reading is something that should be given
the priority,
right?
Yeah.
So I think these are the main differences that I see. But most of my foundation years were done, my schooling was done in Mumbai itself. And I think the foundation that I got here studying in India was great. I'm not saying that our schools and institutes are, inferior compared to the colleges abroad. We have some of the most best schools and colleges, in the world, I would say. We have.
Yeah. So what I feel is the problem is not definitely that there are a lot of things lacking in education, but the problem is interest.
Yeah, I think it's just interest.
If the interest is more, that the kid is more interested towards some subject, then more creativity comes out, more new things comes out.
Exactly.
He in himself or herself, he tries to go deep and deep into it.
Yeah,
and then
so
new
if
thing
you
comes.
were given a choice to study content creation or media, I'm sure you would love to do that. You would start attending the lectures more because that's something you enjoy, right? Versus like studying something you're not completely interested in. So I think that's fundamentally the difference. But I think that's changing in India now. I think students are also choosing subjects that they like to. Also now I feel like colleges are giving more options to students. Like, for example, our university itself, we have a School of Creative Studies now. That was my dad's idea, to have a School of Creative Studies. So now we offer different subjects from the arts and humanities. We have, we're going to start film courses soon. So I think India's education system is changing, and it's something we should all be positive and hopeful about.
So what are your thoughts about the new educational policy, which national education policy is coming out? So what are your thoughts about it? This is what the idea which you have been planning, more interest-based or more practical-based things should come. So such things are happening in this education policy, which is coming right now?
I think the government is doing a fabulous job through its national education policy. But again, I want to mention here that just constructing more brick and mortar, like by just constructing more schools and universities, it does not guarantee the quality of education, right?
It should be inbuilt on the roots of the whatever institution.
Exactly. Right? In fact, I was reading this book called Breaking the Mold by Raghuram Rajan. And in that, he says that if you have a classroom that's dingy, does not have proper amenities, does not have proper facilities, it's not well lit, the student would not want to attend class. It's going to reduce the number of students attending school, right? So you need to also focus on building infrastructure that is quality. So by just building 4 walls, it's not going to make sure that it's not going to improve the quality of education. So we need to focus more on quality of education rather than quantity of education. And I think that's something we fundamentally again lack, because even if you see I was again reading in the book that in the rural parts of India at least, there's a lot of a lot of teachers who are absent from some of these public schools, who are not going and teaching. You see a lot of students who are they're not attending schools because of all these reasons, right? So you need to focus more on improving the quality, be it through its infrastructure, be it through teaching faculty, hygiene. I think that's very important.
See, your grandfather is the inspiration for a lot of youngsters, and I think a lot of youngsters know DY Patil as an institute, but definitely are lacking that knowledge of what your grandfather has done. So I would really want to know what values you have taken, or what values your grandfather has given you, or teachings you have seen while growing up and you're using in your life right now.
So there's so much I've learned from him. But the biggest thing that stands out is his humbleness and how grounded he is as a person. And this reminds me, he's always told us one thing, and you must have probably heard my dad say this very often. So my dada always says, ego is the death of life and death of ego is real life. Yeah. So I think ego is one thing that holds a lot of people back from achieving various things in life. And once you drop that ego, I think you can achieve infinite success. And that's something that he's always taught me. And that's something that I've always gotten my inspiration from. Another thing is he's always believed in service before self.
Wow.
So he's always believed in serving other people then before serving yourself. And that's what he's accomplished through creating all these institutions, by contributing in the fields of education, healthcare, and sports. So that's also what I want to do and carry forward by serving other people. I think the happiness, satisfaction that you get from serving people, I think that's incomparable to anything else. And I've seen that through my grandfather. And another thing that people do not really know about him is that he's very health conscious as well. So I remember he used to walk in the swimming pool and he used to count the number of steps he would take every day. Okay. And he would show me his steps on his Apple Watch. And I would have lesser steps than him. And that motivated me to start running on the treadmill and increasing my steps. So he's always been very conscious about his health. And I think I truly believe that having good health is, better than having health is wealth, as they say.
Yeah, right.
And that's something that I've learned from him. Also, I think he's taught me the power of manifestation. So he told me that before he was governor, he would always say to himself that I will become governor one day, or I will open a college one day. He would always manifest it. He would always think about it. He would live, breathe, and dream of what he wanted to become. And he would keep repeatedly saying it to himself. And he told me that whatever you want in life, just keep saying it to yourself. For example, if you want to become, let's say, the biggest content creator in India, then...
Yes, I want to.
So just keep saying it to yourself that one day I will become the biggest content creator, whatever you want. And I think that really helped him. So I truly believe in the power of manifestation and the power of visualization. That's something that he's always told me that helped him in his journey. And other than that, talking about his humbleness. So I've always realized that whenever it's anyone's birthday, he'll always make it a point to call that person and wish them on their birthday. And that's something that I've picked up from him. So whenever it's a friend's birthday or even a family member or anyone for that matter, I will always make sure to call that person and wish him on their birthday. And I think that sort of helps you maintain your, again, it comes from his humbleness and humility as a person. And that's something that I've always learned from him. So yeah, I think these are the biggest lessons that I've learned. Again, I could go on talking about whatever I've learned, but I think one that truly stands out again is his humbleness and also how he manifested his life since his early childhood. So he lost his parents also at a very early age. And, coming from an agricultural background, he started off as a farmer, as I mentioned, to become what he is today. I think it requires a lot of hard work. It requires a lot of ambition. It requires a lot of, you need a lot of resilience, because the criticism that comes with coming from that background and doing so much and taking such bold initiatives, it also comes with a lot of negativity, criticism. So having to deal with that is also it's not the easiest thing to do, right? So you need a lot of thick skin. I think it's very important to have thick skin, because we live in a time where there's so much negativity also.
Yeah.
So to deal with such people, to deal with the haters, as they say, I think that's again something I've learned. He's never let anyone come in his way. He's never let anyone stop him from achieving his dreams. And there have been multiple occasions where people have tried to pull him down.
Your grandfather was criticized a lot while opening this massive DY Patil Institute. Now, he's opening this to earn money, not with the vision of creating education in the society, but to earn just money. So, what you feel and how you're going to tackle this criticism, or how your grandfather has tackled this criticism?
So, as I mentioned, the first college that he started was one of the first private educational initiatives in India, and which is why it received so much criticism, right? Because at that time there were more public education institutions, there weren't as many private institutes. And I think, as you mentioned, that it came with a lot of criticism, and that's again something that I've learned from him, to be thick-skinned. Obviously, any good initiative that you take, you're bound to receive criticism for it. But my dad actually shared with me, in fact, that the impact that you create, right? Like through our educational institutions, you see our students now, they've taken the top positions in various companies in the US, in India, and across the world. And they send us letters thanking us for the education that we've given them. And when you read these letters, when you see the learning students are getting in our institutes, I think the work speaks for itself, right? Yeah. So the Center of Excellence building, which was my dad's vision, Dr. DY Patil. So that is constructed by Norman Foster. He was the man behind, he's one of the top architects of the world. And this was one of his first projects in India.
Okay.
So the DY Patil Center of Excellence, it's been designed by Foster and Partners, one of the leading architectural firms in the world. They have designed the Apple headquarters. They've designed top institutions in the world like Yale School of Management, Stanford University, London School of Economics. So, the list is just endless. So this sort of investment in infrastructure is very, very important, right? You need to invest in world-class teaching. You need to invest in creating these world-class institutions. And you see the result of it. We have our students, as I mentioned, taking on top positions in different companies. And I think in the end, the work speaks for itself. You saw the Center of Excellence building. I think it's an architectural marvel, right? And I think criticism is bound to come when you take on big leaps and initiatives like this. And I think you just need to focus on the impact that you're creating.
Criticism, whenever a big or a good vision is coming on the ground, or it is coming in the reality, criticism is always going to come. But
100%.
we need to focus on our work, I feel. And I got an opportunity to see the Center of Excellence.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, I honestly wish I studied in that. Maybe if they offered geography at that time, I would have 100% finished, done my undergraduation here. But yeah, it's absolutely an architectural marvel. And I think to have a world-class facility like this in India, I think it's a matter of pride for all of us, even as a nation. And I'm not just saying this because it's, something that my dad created, but even from so many people who have come and visited the facility have said that we've not seen anything like this in India, and it's, at par with the top institutions, even in the US or the UK. In fact, I think it's even better than some of these colleges. And I think we need more world-class infrastructure like this. And I truly believe in creating world-class facilities and having proper infrastructure, because that really drives and impacts learning. So some of our classrooms, they're designed in such a way that students, they maximize learning. There's optimal learning happening. So our classrooms are built in a Harvard-shaped style. It's a horseshoe sort of alignment, which again is made to make sure that students, again, optimize on learning and they're able to imbibe and learn most from what is being taught. Even our library, the auditorium, it's all designed in such a way that students, they're constantly engaged, they're learning the most. So I think even when it comes to planning infrastructure, I think that's very important. So just again, as I mentioned, building 4 walls, having chairs and tables is not enough. You need to go beyond that. You need to design your space in such a way that students enjoy learning. Even the auditorium, it derives a lot of inspiration from our Indian culture and heritage. So a lot of the times we forget that India has also been, historically speaking, it's been a hub of learning and education. And we need to revive that. We need to bring it back. And the Center of Excellence building, it derives a lot of its architectural inspiration from our Indian architecture. And from, for example, the auditorium, it's inspired by a Mughal courtyard. So we have the main town hall, and on 4 sides you have the seating, but they also close into teaching spaces. So we have sort of tried to maximize space as much as we can, because we also know that we're facing a space constraint in our city, given the rise in population and the limited space that we have. And again, it's one of the most sustainable buildings in India. So we have the LEED rating for it, which is the highest sustainability award. So we have a transverse garden in the building. We have around 7 ponds, I think, with lotus. You'll see, I don't know if you got to see the transverse garden.
I didn't go that deep. I was just moving.
But it's a very sustainable building, in fact. And I think the space should also inspire students. You should feel inspired entering the building.
Atmosphere is a very important part, I feel.
Yeah, 100%. And so many times I go there and read books, because the serenity that comes with that space, you automatically feel at peace and at calm when you enter the facility. And that's how most facility and learning spaces should be. It should inspire you. It should, make you want to study, sit there, spend time.
Right.
So that's what we have tried to do with the Center of Excellence.
So while you were speaking about the Center of Excellence, I just feel the excellent man who has been named as Education Samrat, Dr. DY Patil. If he would have envisioned this stadium where we are sitting and having our podcast today, and this institution, recently you hosted Coldplay. So if you just remember, still Mumbai doesn't have such a massive stadium or such a place where we can have concert. And our Prime Minister also have brought concert economy and stuff. So this Coldplay thing happened. If he would not have visioned then that time, this would not happen in Mumbai, I feel. So I think, how was that experience of having Coldplay and this such a big concert over here?
So the stadium was actually the brainchild of my father, Dr. DY Patil. It was his vision to construct and build the stadium. And that came out of his passion for creating world-class facility in Navi Mumbai. So he used to play a lot of cricket, and he wanted to play cricket for India, but unfortunately he wasn't as good enough to make the cut for the Indian team or to pursue a career in cricket. So he built a cricket stadium, and his vision at the time was, as I said, to bring world-class infrastructure to Navi Mumbai, to Maharashtra, and to India. Yeah, hosting Coldplay, it's honestly for him, it's like a dream come true, because even growing up, me and my sister, we listened to a lot of Coldplay songs. Even my dad has been a big Coldplay fan. And to see Coldplay perform here in Navi Mumbai, in Nerul, I think that's something that we could not have imagined of, or he could not have even thought of at that time. Coldplay was amazing. I don't know if you, I think you...
I didn't get a chance to come.
You didn't get a ticket.
how was, tickets. But yes, now we are having a podcast. I feel in future, if any of such concerts are there, you can help me out.
100%.
So how was your experience as such a young person and attending Coldplay in Navi Mumbai? You had at any time imagined that this is going to happen in Mumbai?
So actually, a very interesting story. I think this was 7 years ago. I think the stadium's Twitter handle, X handle, we tweeted saying, tagging Coldplay, saying we would love to host you at our facility, not thinking that they would actually 6 years down the line come and perform at our venue.
Wow. And
I think just manifesting it at that time and watching it happen in real was something that we could not have possibly imagined. And to watch, and everything went so smoothly, and I'm a big Coldplay fan. Just watching them perform live here, and for 3 consecutive shows, and for their first stadium tour in India was just something phenomenal. I think, like, I'm short of words. Like, it was just something that you had to witness in person. And
I think the craze which has come from DY Patil after the concert, the videos start coming out. I think whole world has got that. Whole world got attracted to India. Yeah, such a massive concert can happen in India.
Yeah, and even the show in Ahmedabad, in fact, it was Coldplay's largest show in the world. And I think, again, that's a very, it's a moment of pride for all of us as Indians to see artists come here and perform at our venues. And I only see it growing from here on.
Yeah, this is the start. I would say this was one of the teasers of it. I think a lot of artists are going to come in India now, and they have seen how Indians are crazy for such concerts, and we have the infrastructure as well.
100%. And in fact, I think even the way it was managed, the way everything went so smoothly, I think the whole show that was put up was just absolutely phenomenal, and not something, we could not have possibly imagined. And for them to do not just one, but three shows was again like, I think it was one of my favorite moments personally to watch them perform thrice, and every time I've just enjoyed it more. In fact, we even got to meet the band, and I think that was another surreal moment in my life. So actually, we had given them this, so we had to give them a gift, right? And because we were meeting the entire band. So we were thinking of what to gift the band. And the first thing that my dad said was, let's gift them a Ganesh idol. So we gifted each band member, Ganpati, a Murti.
Wow.
The way they received it with so much warmth. So in fact, the drummer of the band and the whole band, in fact, they kept the Ganpati idol with them on the stage while performing. You'll see pictures of it. In fact, I can show it to you later. So they kept it with them while performing for both the Ahmedabad and Mumbai shows. And, that again was a very surreal moment for all of us. And also all of them, each one of them, from Chris Martin to all the band members, they're so humble, they were so nice to speak to. And also a fun fact, so we, even all the members of Coldplay, they studied at UCL. So we went to the same college. So we had a little chat about that also. But no, it was fabulous meeting like the band and, having them perform at our facility. And now the fact that they even, they know DY Patil as a brand. And even Chris Martin's dad, in fact, he knew Dada. So he was like, I researched about him. I Googled him. He knew so much about Dada when we went to meet him. So that was again something that we weren't, it was again a very surreal moment for all of us to see how this concert and how his name has reached such global heights.
Listening your experiences, it really breaks my heart that I couldn't attend the show. But in the future, definitely, I will. So I want to understand your father's role in building this stadium, and now how he is going to take it ahead and how you are helping him out.
I mean, my father, he's already taken it miles ahead from where it started. Again, as I mentioned, the stadium was his brainchild. The Center of Excellence has been his vision. It's something that he's always dreamt of, again, creating a world-class facility. Right now, he is the Chancellor of the DY Patil University and the President of the Sports Academy. So right now, we're also he just constructed a hospital in Talegaon, the Pushpalata DY Patil Hospital. So his projects have been ongoing, and he's been taking forward Dada's legacy by creating more institutes like the Center of Excellence, I think. And with that, my vision is also to carry forward his work, Dada's work, and expand our campuses across India and fulfill his vision of creating institutes and educating people, as I mentioned, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. And I think that's what we need to do as a generation, take forward, my dad's work and my Dada's work ahead. But my dad has also been a big source of inspiration for me. To see him construct this Center of Excellence building has just been absolutely inspirational. I've seen him go to, the amount of hard work gone into making that. And it's not just hard work, it's also the emotion that he's put into constructing this. You can see it and you can feel it when you're at the building, right? And that's something that I've learned from him, that it's not just hard work and, just not just hard work that's going to get you far in life or, help you become successful. You also need to have the right intent in place.
Right.
And for him, it was making sure that students in India, they get the best facility, they get... he wanted to create Harvard, India's Harvard, or something better than
that.
Harvard. And I think and we're getting there. We're going to, with this marvelous building here, I think we are reaching the point where we can proudly say that we're reaching at par with these global institutes. So yeah, his he's taken Dada's, he's expanded it by creating this entire campus in Navi Mumbai.
Your father knows this podcast is happening over here?
I don't think so. He has no idea.
So I would really say, once the podcast gets live, he should sit and watch, and someday he would be sitting in front of me. I think he might have a lot.
Yeah, he'll have more stories to tell you for sure.
Great. So you ever felt the such a big legacy coming on your shoulder in the future? You feel like pressure, having that big pressure on your back?
I think growing up slowly, yes, you do feel that pressure, but more than pressure, I would say it's been a source of motivation for me.
Okay.
And in fact, I feel inspired every day that I need to live up to this legacy. So I would not really call it pressure, because pressure is a very negative connotation around it. So I would say it's been very inspiring, in fact. And, I have something to look forward to every day. And having such role models like my dad, my grandfather, I think, my dad always says that you can't ever choose the family that you're born into. And I'm honestly very grateful, and I feel immense pride in being, coming from a family, known for their contributions in education, healthcare, and sports, which again, as I said, are the pillars of any nation. So it's honestly, I feel extremely proud in being, taking forward this legacy. And I wish I can, take his name and my Dada's name forward and really create change.
Great. So definitely, I think in such a young age, you have so much of knowledge about the work, and you are so clear that what you want to do in your life. So I think that's the thing which is lacking in a lot of youth, because they don't know what they want in their life coming ahead, and they don't have a right vision. I feel you have a very great vision. So coming out of this education in such a massive, I think, visionary conversation, how you have been treated in the house? How is your personal life? Like how Rajlakshmi has been treated in the family, how they call you in the house, and such a wonderful name, Rajlakshmi.
Yeah.
So how this happens in the house?
To be fair, I've barely been at home because I was abroad for 6 years. I was completing my education. But so I'm the oldest daughter. So
this is one more pressure, the elder one in the family.
Yeah, I mean, so I got it the harder way compared to my siblings. But I mean, at home, it's always been like a normal, we're a Maharashtrian family, so you know how it goes. But I think I would say I'm probably my parents' favorite child. So, I think at home, I'm the quiet one.
Okay.
My sister's usually the
louder
and the noisy, always complaining one. I used to be her at one point, but then I think I've become much more calmer
through the experience of you getting in your life now.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that.
So who is the favorite one in your family?
So it used to be my younger brother.
Okay, used to be a younger brother.
When he was like...
So for now?
Now...
It's very difficult?
Oh...
It's very difficult to choose, I feel.
It is very difficult to choose.
Well, then you have to answer, when you go home, you have to answer it if someone sees this.
I think it's still my younger brother only. I think he'll get very annoyed if I...
Okay.
Yeah, no, but it's my younger brother. He's 12 years old right now. And, he's just the sweetest and
the family.
He was sweet, but now he's become more... He's reaching his teens, so he's...
Yeah, now he's getting
more
bigger,
rebellious.
bigger.
And I think it was nice seeing him when he was 9 years old. But now I think as kids grow older...
So what is his name?
Rajveer.
Rajveer,
Yeah.
okay. Rajveer you're the favorite one of your sister. What exactly you feel about India today? What are your thoughts about India, and what you are envisioning in the future? What you want to do for the country?
So very often, I've said this also a lot in a lot of the speeches that I give, that we're regarded as a country of, I think, 2 billion people, 1.5 billion people, but
Yeah.
we need to look at a country of 1.5 billion minds rather than people.
Of course.
We need to see there's so much talent in our country. There's so many people, there's so many educated, so many, there's so much talent in this country. I think if it's put to the right use, if people are given the right guidance, then I think our country has massive potential.
Okay.
But one thing, as I said, that I'm very, very passionate about is sustainability. Unfortunately, we're living in a time where we're seeing climate change happening at a very rapid pace. We're seeing the glaciers in the Himalayas, they're melting. We're seeing the pollution levels in our city rising, and it has come to a point where it's a threat to our health. So living in Mumbai itself reduces your lifespan by around 3 years.
Right.
And people need to understand that, it's affecting us, and you're not realizing its impact now, but you will in the, coming few years. So right now, as a nation, we're also seeing a lot of development happening, but we need to see how we can achieve this development sustainably. And that's something that I've always spoken about, that we need to focus on sustainable development.
Right.
And very often we think that development and sustainability, they can't go hand in hand, and that they're opposing. But I honestly feel that sustainability is the very precondition of development. And honestly, if we do not, we do not develop sustainably, then we're going to be in a massive crisis. And this, when we talk about construction of roads, construction of various things, we also see pollution rates going high at the same time. And that raises the question that, why are we, it's coming at the cost of the environment, right? So this is where R&D comes in. This is where technology comes in. We need to develop technology and infrastructure that is sustainable. We need to make sure that our construction, that our industries are sustainable. We need to start decarbonizing, as I said, right? We need to shift to public transportation. We need to focus more on renewable energy. And I think that's the direction which India should pivot in.
Right.
And also, as I mentioned in one of my classes, we were shown that video of India's image, which was portrayed through this garbage dump in Delhi.
It's used as a case study.
Yeah, so I think it's also important in the global sense that focusing on these environmental issues will also help change India's perspective in that sense, when it comes to the global view of India.
Right.
And I think focusing on ensuring that sustainability is a core principle when it comes to manufacturing, when it comes to your services, and be it anything. It needs to be a core principle in any and every industry, and it needs to come from both ground up to top down. And we need to make sure that, again, this comes also from the individual's mindset, right? So again, this can be achieved through education. But that's again a very long-term solution, but it needs to start now.
Coming from a Maharashtrian family, how spirituality is helping in your life?
So my family has always been very spiritual and religious. So when I was 6, we in fact went to Kedarnath, and we've done most of the Jyotirlings. And I've always been a spiritual person, and that comes a lot from my parents and my grandparents. And I think spirituality sort of gives you a direction and a faith in life. So I do believe that hard work does take you to a certain extent, maybe 95%, but I do believe that 5% of it comes from, having faith.
Faith in spirituality.
Yeah, and it's something that's very personal, but I think spirituality is also sort of, so in school we used to have this thing called meditation. So every morning we would have a speaker come up and discuss something very spiritual. And that again, helped me realize there's more to life than just what we see in reality, right? We need to start broadening our horizon. We need to start thinking deeper. And most of the people now, I feel like we think at a very superficial level, and spirituality helps you get deeper, helps you understand things at a deeper level. And I think at least in today's world, with all the negativity, with all the criticism that's going around, I think being spiritual keeps you sane, keeps you calmer. In this world where everything's happening at such a fast pace. And for me, reading has been a huge aspect of my life, and it's also made me a very spiritual person. So spirituality does not necessarily mean that you're religious, but it could also be through like reading
and stuff. Everyone has their own way of
being spiritual. But so I think reading is something that's made me also very spiritual, and I think it's a habit that I honestly believe that everyone should have. When you talk about the top, the top industrialists of the world, be it like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, any of those most successful people in the world, they all have been readers.
Yes.
So I think reading is a very important habit to have. And spirituality, I think it keeps you sane in this crazy world.
If you have known the story of Mark Zuckerberg and then Bill Gates, they all are very born to spirituality. I think their successful journey started when they were connected to spirituality, or they were going towards a lot of failures in their life. So I feel spirituality is so important for the youth in today's time, because social media, digital world, and this is something taking a lot of time of youth. So
also I think it makes you question the idea of success. So for a lot of people, success might just be the peak of the mountain, right? But getting into spirituality and practicing spirituality, it makes you realize that success is not just one final outcome. It's a process of different outcomes. So you just see the peak of the mountain, but you still need to climb the whole mountain. And every feat that you accomplish is success in itself. And I think that's what spirituality teaches you. It makes you question success. It makes you question happiness.
Right.
So you might be the most successful person in the world, but if you're not happy what's the point of the success, right? So I think, spirituality is very, very important in the sense that it really makes you think deeper. And you need it for your personal growth.
So one of the things I remember from this conversation, Shah Rukh Khan used to say, he has said in one of the interviews that I worked very hard to be successful, but the difference which I have in my life is after getting successful, I am still working hard. I'm still connecting to that thing. I don't want to leave that hard work. I think this sense of understanding comes through spirituality, I feel, because everyone wants to be successful, but people don't know that after that success is just one point of your life. But once you achieve it, you feel what next? So you have to keep working hard, and that spirituality gives you that understanding and calmness in your कि ये तो process है, ये करते रहना है. This is never ending.
100. See, I'm no one to preach because I don't think I've reached the point in life where I can give advice. But honestly, I'll give you an example. I remember I was studying for my economics grade 10 board exam, and I worked so hard for it. And when I finally passed and got the marks that I wanted, I was happy for maybe that one day. But then after that, I was just like, okay, but is this like, now what? And I think success, again, as I mentioned, is a series of different accomplishments. It can be even like waking up, making your bed in the morning, right? That's success. And I think once you stop thinking about that one final outcome and you enjoy the process of reaching that outcome, I think that's more fulfilling than just reaching
to that point.
Yeah.
So if DY Patil sir would be giving one message to the youth, what it would be today?
So I'll tell you what he tells me, and I mentioned this, but I would just like to reiterate that in the power of manifestation, I think that's one thing he would definitely tell the youth of today is to believe, to manifest, to believe in your dreams, to have resilience. I think being resilient in today's world is very important because, as I mentioned, there'll always be people trying to pull you down. But sometimes you just need to have horse blinders and just keep focusing on your journey, on your path. You need to stop comparing yourself to others and focus on your personal journey because that's something that what he's told me all the time. But for him, that's worked in his journey of life is manifesting his dreams, of visualizing his dreams. I think visualization is something that he's always, so he's always imagined himself opening colleges, or even his name is Nyandev, which means, so I think, early since his childhood, maybe he was always, he's always dreamt of starting institutes, of, becoming governor as he was. And I think that's something you would tell the youth, is to also have faith, to hard work is obviously, that's a prerequisite. But other than that, also, I think one major thing that he keeps stressing about is, to leave your ego aside. I think that's very important, to to stay grounded, to stay humble, to stay focused.
Wow. So I feel today every person who will be watching this podcast going to get a lot of knowledge about Dr. DY Patil sir and his vision and his ideas, which has come in you. And definitely, I don't know, this is a dream that I would love to see him also sitting here and giving that knowledge, and definitely your father as well. So let's see, that's the manifestation I'm having right now. Thank you, Rajlakshmi, for coming on the show. And I feel, how did you feel in coming in Positive Talks and sharing your knowledge? And this is the first podcast of yours.
I was just going to say that. Thank you for having me, firstly. I think it's been a lot of fun doing this, and it's my first podcast, so apologies if I made a few blunders, but I think honestly it's been a great time sharing my insights with you and speaking to you. But
thank you so much, Rajlakshmi, for coming. And definitely a lot of youth would get inspired by this conversation, and they would start having their life towards sustainability and more towards environment, and definitely start manifesting the impossible, because if you remove that I am, then everything is possible in life. So thank you so much once again for coming.
Hopefully in a few years, when I accomplish more, maybe we can have this podcast again, and I'll have more to share.
Definitely we'll have the part 2.
Thank you.